As he so often did, Henry Lawson put his thoughts and memories into verse. Here's a poem that he wrote about his old schoolhouse. This one's called The Old Bark School. It was built of bark and poles, and the floor was full of holes, where each leak in rainy weather made a pool. And the walls were mostly cracks, lined with calico and sacks. There was little need for windows in the school. Then we rode to school and back by the rugged gully-track, on the old grey horse that carried 3 or 4. And he looked so very wise that he lit the master's eyes every time he put his head in at the door. He had a run with Cobb and Co. That grey leader, let him go! There were men as knowed the brand upon his hide, and as knowed it on the course, funeral service, good old horse, when we burnt him in the gully where he died. And the master thought the same. 'Twas from Ireland that he came, where the tanks are full all summer, and the feed is simply grand. And the joker then in vogue said his lessons with a brogue. 'Twas unconscious imitation, let the reader understand. And we learnt the world in scraps from some ancient dingy maps, long discarded by the public schools in town. And as nearly every book dated back to Captain Cook, our geography was somewhat upside down. It was in the book, and so, well, at that we'd let it go, for we never would believe the print could lie. And we all learnt pretty soon that when we came out at noon, the sun was in the south part of the sky. And Ireland, that was known from the coast to Athlone. We got little information re the land that gave us birth, save that Captain Cook was killed and was very likely grilled, and that the natives of New Holland are the lowest race on earth. And a woodcut in its place, of the same degraded race, seemed a lot more like a camel than the blackfellows that we knew. Jimmy Bullock with the rest scratched his head and gave it best, but his faith was sadly shaken by a bobtailed kangaroo. But the old bark school is gone, and the spot it stood upon is a cattle camp in winter where the curlew's cry is heard. There's a brick school on the flat, but a schoolmate teaches that, for about the time they built it, our old master was transferred. But the bark school comes again, with exchanges cross the plain, with the outback advertiser and my fancy roams at large. When I read of passing stock of a western mob or flock, with James Bullock, Grey, or Henry Dale in charge. And I think how Jimmy went from the old bark school content, with his education finished with his pack horse after him. And perhaps if I were back, I would take the self-same track, for I wish my learning ended when the master finished, Jim.